They say there is a door in the Himalayas, a door with no handle, no hinges, no carvings, a door that only appears when you stop looking and opens only when you stop speaking. Bhutanese monks call it Chorten Sermo, the silent passage. No traveler has ever photographed it. No map marks its path. But those who claim to have seen it, they return changed, not richer, not wiser, but lighter, as if they left something behind, or perhaps found something they didn't know they had lost. Tonight we begin a journey, not of roads, not of borders, but of mountains that hum in the dark, villages that whisper secrets to the wind, and spirits that still walk beside the living, not to haunt, but to guide. You are not here for history. You are not here for facts. You are here for what still lingers after silence. You are here for Bhutan. Let us begin with a mountain. But not just any mountain. A mountain that is not marked by height, but by presence. They call it Jomolari, the bride of the gods. But no one climbs her, not out of fear, not out of worship, but out of respect, because they say she is watching. Long ago, before Bhutan had kings, before its valleys were carved into prayer fields and rice terraces, there was only the wind and the mountains, and one mountain stood alone, white, fierce, eternal. She had no name, only a voice. The locals say she spoke in dreams, to shamans, to farmers, to lost travelers. She did not command, she did not demand. She simply whispered, "Stay true or stay away." One day, a warrior climbed her slopes. He wanted to conquer her, to plant a flag, to say, "I stood above the gods." He never returned. Some say he slipped, some say he froze, but the elders believe. He was not taken by the snow, but by the silence, because the higher you climb, the louder your soul becomes. And if your soul is too loud, Jomolari does not let you leave. Even today, when the clouds part, and her summit gleams like ice caught in moonlight, monks lower their eyes and whisper, "She sees." Far in the west, where valleys fold like silk, there is a temple that clings to a cliff, like a prayer too sacred to fall. Paro Taksang, the tiger's nest, built where a monk once meditated for 3 years, 3 months, 3 days, and 3 hours, without moving, without food, without fire, only breath. They say he flew there on the back of a tigress, a wrathful spirit he tamed not with weapons, but with stillness. Today, the temple is real. You can visit it. But what you don't see is what lies beneath. Old monks speak of a hidden chamber, a door sealed with sacred words, long forgotten, and inside, not treasure, not relics, but a sound, just a sound, a single tone, the last sound the universe made before it went quiet. Only the purest heart can hear it. Only the quietest soul can understand it. No one has entered for 400 years, but every now and then, in the dead of winter, the wind around the temple rings like a bell, and those who hear it dream strange dreams, dreams of floating, of fire that does not burn, of a tigress staring not with fury, but with grief. There was once a boy in a village where the mountains cast long shadows over every roof. He did not speak, not a word since birth. The villagers thought he was cursed. His mother thought he was sacred. Every evening he would sit by the river and hum, not songs he learned, but songs that came from somewhere older than memory. The birds would stop to listen, the dogs would lie beside him. Even the wind would pause. One day the boy walked into the forest and never returned. But in the village, on nights when the fog is thick and the moon is low, they still hear his humming, not from the forest, not from the sky, but from the mountain itself, as if the boy had become part of it, as if the mountain remembered. And so, Bhutan is not just a country, it is a listening place, where even the land holds memory, where stories do not end, they echo, and the ones who listen, truly listen, they carry the silence within them, not as a burden, but as a blessing. Sleep now, traveler. Let the wind tuck you in. The mountain watches. The tigress waits. And the silent door, it may open again. When you're ready to stop looking, sleep now, traveler. Let the wind tuck you in. The mountain watches. The tigress waits. And the silent door, it may open again when you're ready to stop looking. At the far edge of the Himalayas, where the clouds brush the peaks like whispered prayers, there is a monastery so high, even the wind kneels before entering. Locals call it Rinchen Drak, the jewel on the cliff. No roads lead there, no maps mark it, and no two travelers ever remember the same way back. Some say it was built by monks, some say it appeared overnight, but all who arrive agree on one thing. The moment you step into Rinchen Drak, you feel as if you've left the world behind. There is no grand entrance, just a narrow stone path carved into the cliffside. One misstep, and the clouds below will catch you. The wind here doesn't howl, it hums, a deep, ancient sound, as if the mountain itself is remembering something. At the gate, carved into the wood, is a phrase. The sky ends here, but silence begins. Inside, the monastery is simple. No gold, no loud colors, just stillness, and walls that listen. Long ago, they say a monk named Ngawang came to Rinchen Drak. He was young, but quiet. He didn't chant, didn't debate, he simply listened. At night, he would sit alone in the meditation hall, candle lit, eyes closed, and he would speak, but not to people, to shadows. "Are you afraid?" he once whispered, to no one. A gust of wind answered, the candle flickered, and for a moment, the room wasn't empty. The other monks began to notice. He never ate, yet grew stronger. Never left, yet always returned from somewhere. Then one morning, he was gone. No footprints, no farewell, just the scent of incense, and a shadow that didn't belong to anyone. High above the main hall, there is a bell. Huge, silver, untouched by rust. But it has no rope, no clapper, no way to ring. Yet many who sleep at Rinchen Drak wake in the night, eyes wide, heart pounding, because in their dreams they heard it. The bell, one deep, echoing toll, like the mountain exhaling. And in that sound, they say, they remember something they never knew they'd forgotten. Hidden behind a wooden panel in the eastern wing is a room lined with mirrors, but not ordinary ones. These mirrors do not show your reflection, they show your regret. A monk once entered and saw himself as a child, leaving home without saying goodbye. Another saw a face they loved fading. A third saw nothing at all. It's said the room was not built, it was discovered, and that the mountain carved it itself to hold the sorrow people bring with them. No one stays at Rinchen Drak forever. The monks say a guest is like smoke. They rise, and then they vanish. But those who leave often find that something follows. Not a ghost, not a curse, just a whisper. A voice that speaks when you're alone, or a dream that feels too real, or a memory of snow falling, even in summer. Sometimes it says nothing. Other times it simply asks, "Did you listen? Rinchen Drak is not just a monastery, it is a border between what is real and what is remembered, between waking and dreaming, between the world of the living and the world of the nearly forgotten. Those who arrive by accident were meant to. Those who arrive on purpose often find what they weren't looking for, and those who leave never truly leave. So tonight, if the wind feels different, or if your room seems quieter than usual, maybe it's because something ancient is near, not watching, not haunting, just waiting. Waiting to be heard, waiting to remind you that in the highest corners of this world, there are places where silence speaks louder than any voice, and stories that don't end, they simply pause until someone is ready to listen again. Close your eyes now. Let the mountain carry your breath. Let the night take your thoughts. And if you hear a bell in your dream, don't be afraid. It's only Rinchen Drak calling you home. Tonight, we leave the heights of the mountains behind and wander gently down into hidden valleys. In Bhutan, valleys are not empty spaces between mountains. They are worlds of their own, full of whispers, full of masks, full of spirits who smile, but never show their faces. Every year, in the gentle valleys of Paro and Bumthang, there is a dance. Not a simple dance. A dance of gods and spirits, of heroes and demons performed by monks who wear masks. Not to hide, but to become someone else. They call it Cham. The masks are colorful, fierce, joyful, sorrowful. But behind each mask, a monk whispers quietly to himself. Prayers to remember who he is, or perhaps who he once was. Many believe the masks hold memories, and sometimes when the music fades and the masks are taken off, the monks find tears on their faces. Tears they did not cry, because perhaps, in that brief moment, they carried the sorrow or joy of someone who wore the mask long before. Deep in the valley of Ha, there is a shrine rarely visited. No candles burn there. No offerings are made. Yet, every evening, laughter echoes gently from within. Long ago, a girl named Tashi lived nearby. She laughed often, so often, villagers called her the Laughing One. But one day, she vanished. No explanation, no farewell. Only her laughter remained, echoing softly from the empty shrine. People searched, but found nothing. Monks chanted, but heard only silence. Years passed, and the laughter faded into legend. But still, at dusk, villagers hear it sometimes. Soft, joyful, distant, like a secret told by the wind. They say she never truly left. She simply became part of the valley, and laughter became her offering. Further east, there's a valley without a name. Birds never sing there. Flowers bloom silently. It's said to be a place between worlds, a passageway for spirits. Those who wander into the valley often lose track of time. An hour becomes a day becomes a month. But no one ever regrets it, because in the quiet they hear voices. Voices of loved ones long departed, voices of friends they never met. They say it's not frightening, just comforting, as if the valley knows exactly what you need to hear, exactly what you lost, and quietly gives it back, just for a moment. On the edge of the Thimphu Valley, there lived an old man known as Sonam. He carved masks from wood, masks that laughed, masks that wept, masks that stared silently back at you, with eyes that felt alive. But Sonam never spoke. Not because he couldn't, but because the masks spoke for him. Villagers came for masks that brought luck or chased spirits away, but sometimes a mask would choose them instead. One day, a woman picked up a mask and saw her own face looking back, younger, happier. someone she had forgotten. She wept silently. Sonam nodded quietly, as if he knew exactly which mask she needed. The masks never brought wealth or fame. They only brought clarity, the quiet truth people had hidden from themselves. And when Sonam died, villagers placed his tools and masks beside him. But his grave is empty now, except for one mask he left behind, a mask that smiles, waiting quietly, patiently for someone who needs to remember. In Punakha, near the ancient fortress, there's a story told only in whispers. Late at night, by the riverside, there appears a spirit, not a frightening spirit, not an angry spirit, but one that smiles gently, quietly. Travelers who see her often wave, and the spirit waves back, but when they come closer, they realize it's their own reflection. Smiling back at them, some run away, startled. Others stay and smile even more. And those who stay always say the same thing. In that quiet smile, they remembered something long forgotten, the simple joy of meeting themselves, as if for the first time. Valleys in Bhutan are not merely places. They are spaces where memory breathes, where time pauses, just a little, where masks smile but never explain. So tonight, before you drift into sleep, imagine yourself in a valley. Hear the distant laughter, feel the quiet presence of spirits, and let yourself be carried gently by the wind. No need to understand, no need to explain. Just let the stories wash over you, like moonlight through clouds, soft, quiet, healing. Sleep now, dear friend. Behind the mask, something gentle waits. A smile that says, rest, you're not alone. They say water has memory, but in Bhutan, water does more than remember. It whispers, it sings, and sometimes it waits. Far in the eastern part of Bhutan flows a river so calm, people call it Chumik Drukmo, the sky beneath the sky. At dawn, its surface reflects not just the clouds, but the faces of those who once lived, and those who still linger. Old monks say that if you walk beside the river with a quiet heart, you might see someone waiting in the water, someone who once said goodbye, but never truly left. They say it's not a ghost, it's not a trick. It's the river showing you who you miss, because it remembers when you loved them. In a village near the Punatsangchu River, there was once a child named Pem. She was quiet, curious, and often wandered alone by the banks. One evening, she heard singing, soft, distant, a melody she had never heard, yet it felt familiar. She followed the voice. She didn't return that night, or the next. The villagers searched. Days passed. Weeks. Then, one morning, she came back, barefoot, silent, eyes wide. She wouldn't speak for many days, but eventually she whispered. She sang to me. Who? They asked. Pem smiled, eyes glistening. The river. And ever since, Pem would walk by the water at sunset, listening with closed eyes and smiling gently, as if the river were still singing just to her. In a remote part of the Tang Valley stands a wooden bridge, old, unpainted, covered in moss. It sways even when the air is still. No one crosses it, not because it's unsafe, but because of what happened there long ago. Two lovers, forbidden to be together, met on that bridge every night, until one night, during monsoon, the river rose. She crossed first. He never arrived. The river swallowed him without a sound. She waited, until the rain stopped, until her hair turned gray, until the bridge aged beside her. Now, people say her spirit still waits there, on foggy nights, holding a paper lantern. If you pass too close, you might hear her ask, "Have you seen him?" And if your heart is too full of sorrow, you might be tempted to answer, but don't, because the river remembers. And it misses him too. Near a small monastery in the Ha Valley, there is a well with no rope, no bucket, just stone walls and endless dark water. But if you lean in, you hear whispers, not loud, not frightening, just familiar. Some hear their mother's voice. Others hear childhood lullabies. Some hear nothing but come away in tears. The monks say the well remembers everything that was ever offered to it. Tears, prayers, secrets. And in return, it gives you back only what you're ready to hear. But be warned, if you listen too long, you might forget your name. Because the deeper the memory, the easier it is to get lost in it. High in the mountains above Bumthang, there lies a hidden lake called Metok Cho, the Lake of Petals. From above, it seems ordinary, still, clear, reflective. But those who camp nearby often report something strange. At midnight, the water pulses, a gentle ripple, like a heartbeat. Not caused by wind, not by fish, but by something beneath. A story tells of a monk who drowned himself there, not out of sorrow, but devotion. He wanted to return as water, to carry the prayers of others. They say every time someone weeps nearby, the lake responds, offering comfort, with a single ripple, a pulse, a promise, a soft reminder. I'm still here. Bhutan's rivers do not simply flow. They carry memory. They carry love. And sometimes they carry us. So tonight, as you drift into sleep, imagine the sound of water beside you. Not rushing, just moving, gently, like breath. Listen for the whisper that belongs only to you. Maybe it's a song, maybe it's a voice, maybe it's a silence you've needed. And if you dream of a river, calm, endless, familiar, don't ask where it leads. Just follow. Because in Bhutan, some waters remember where you're meant to go, even when you've forgotten. There is a story in Bhutan that begins not with a person, but with a silence. Not an ordinary silence. Not the kind that comes when the wind stops or when prayer flags flutter without sound. But a silence that feels alive. It happened in a small village, nestled between two forgotten hills. A village with no name on maps, no roads in or out, only a single narrow path and a river that sings in the dark. It began on a Tuesday, a day like any other. Farmers tended to barley fields. Children played near the stupa. Old women hung herbs to dry. That night, as the sky turned a soft silver, everyone went to sleep. But in the morning, no one woke up. Not one. Fires remained unlit. Birds sang to no audience, and the river, usually laughing, grew still. A monk from a neighboring village came to visit. He found the village frozen in time. Men still holding cups of tea. Children curled in sleep beside half-drawn drawings. Women smiling faintly, as if paused in mid-dream. He called out. No one stirred. He rang the temple bell. No one moved. And yet, the air didn't feel dead. It felt warm, soft, cradled, as if the entire village was simply dreaming. The monk's name was Jampa. He didn't panic, didn't run. Instead, he stayed. He swept the empty courtyards, lit incense in the silent temple, read prayers aloud, though no one listened. And every night he sat in the center of the village and waited. On the seventh night, he too fell asleep. He dreamed he was in the same village, but different. The sky was blue, but full of stars. The trees sang. The river glowed like moonlight in motion. And the villagers were there, awake, laughing. Children danced, elders clapped. Tea was poured, bread was shared. Jampa walked among them. No one noticed he was new. He asked a woman, "Do you know you're dreaming?" She smiled. "Of course, aren't you?" He asked, "Why are you here?" And she whispered, "Because we weren't ready to say goodbye." Jampa began waking each morning alone. but each night he returned to the dream. He spoke to many. A carpenter building a house he never had in life. A child who said she didn't like the world before too loud. They weren't trapped, they had chosen to stay. In the waking world, their bodies rested peacefully. No hunger, no pain, just sleep. And in the dream, they lived. Jampa asked, "Will you ever wake up?" An old man replied, "Why should we? This is softer." And Jampa understood. One morning, Jampa found a scroll on the temple floor. It hadn't been there before. It read, "If you are reading this, you've heard our silence. We do not fear waking, but for now, we choose this. A world made of memory, shaped by kindness, free from sorrow. If you need us, close your eyes. We will be there." He smiled. And for the first time in weeks, he returned to his own village. He never told anyone what happened, but sometimes, during prayer, he would close his eyes and smile. And once, when asked why he never feared death, he simply said, "Because I've seen the softer place." And on the quietest nights, when the wind moves just right, you can hear it. Not a sound, but a feeling, like a village breathing in sleep. Like joy wrapped in silence. Like a dream that knows your name. So tonight, as you lie in bed, if the world feels heavy, if your heart feels loud, close your eyes. Imagine a village, tucked between two hills where no one is lost, and everyone is dreaming. Walk its stone paths, smell the tea, listen to the laughter, feel the softness of silence, and maybe, just maybe, you'll find them. Still there, still waiting, still dreaming. Sleep well, dear traveler. And if you wake with a smile, perhaps you've been there too. They say there's a forest in Bhutan that has no name. It wasn't always nameless. But people stopped speaking of it, stopped visiting. And slowly, like all things left behind, it began to forget itself. The villagers now call it simply that place beyond the smoke. Not out of fear, but out of reverence. Because in Bhutan, what is forgotten is not gone. It only waits. Near the edge of this forest stood a single, massive tree. Its roots curled like ancient fingers. Its bark shimmered faintly at dusk, and it hummed. Not always, only when no one was watching. A soft, low sound, neither song nor sigh. Monks once came from distant valleys to sit beside it for days, waiting to hear. Those who did never spoke of what they heard, but they returned with gentler eyes and hearts that no longer hurried. One monk, when asked what he heard, simply smiled and said, "The mountain remembering a bird." There's a path through the forest that only appears when the fog is thick enough. No one clears it. No one marks it. But when you walk it, you find footprints beside your own. They never match your stride. They never leave the path. They just follow. Not threatening, not curious, just present. An old man once followed those prints until he reached a clearing where the fog stopped. There, he saw a small stone shrine, covered in moss, with no name. He sat beside it and said, "I'm ready to forget." And when he returned to his village, he no longer remembered why he was sad, only that he had once been, and now was not. Children in Bhutan are taught not to wander alone into the forest that forgets. But once, a girl named Choden did just that. She followed a white deer, not a normal deer, but one made of shadow and moonlight. It led her through thorn and mist to a pool of water still as silence, and there she saw her reflection, but it was smiling before she did. The deer nodded and disappeared. She never spoke of what she saw, but each night after she lit a candle by her window and whispered, "Thank you," as if the forest had returned something she didn't know she'd lost. Deep within the trees, there is a wall, not made of stone, not built by hands, just an end, where no path continues, where no birds fly, where the silence is so whole it feels like being inside someone else's breath. The monks say this is where the forest remembers its beginning, and those who reach this place often sit for hours, then turn back with tears they cannot explain. Because endings in Bhutan are never endings, they are soft circles, closed not with doors, but with understanding. You've walked long with me, through snow and fire, through whispers and silence, through rivers that remember and dreams that hold hands with the stars. Perhaps, you wonder, were these stories real? Did the girl meet the deer? Did the bell truly ring in a monastery that moves? Did a village sleep together and dream forever? Maybe, but in Bhutan, truth is not in the detail. It lives in the hush between words, the feeling that lingers after sound, the soft knowing you carry, even when you can't explain why. And so we end not with answers, but with rest. You've heard the legends. You've walked the valleys. And now, it's time to sleep. Not to escape, not to forget, but to remember gently. Because sometimes, when the world grows too loud, the heart seeks only one thing, a story told softly that lets it breathe again. So close your eyes now. Let the winds of Bhutan carry your breath. Let the rivers hold your weight. Let the mountains watch without judgment. And if you dream tonight, may you find yourself in a forest without a name. A place that remembers for you. A place that waits quietly without asking for anything in return. And when the morning comes, you won't need to remember the stories, only the feeling, a stillness in your chest, a warmth in your sleep, a silence that smiles back. Good night, sleep well, until we whisper again.